So as you recall, we were doing chapter 7.5, the tangent ratio, and I led it off by talking about what is trigonometry, why do we need to use it. After that, we went on to some of the concepts that are covered in trig, and then we talked about Chief SOHCAHTOA, as you recall, right? And hopefully everybody remembers what Chief SOHCAHTOA means, so let's just review that real quick. What does the S stand for? Sine. What does O stand for, Cleo? Opposite. Gustavo, the H? Hypotenuse. Luis, what does the C stand for? Cosine. The A, Stephanie Reyes. Adjacent, good. Mario, what does the H stand for? Hypotenuse, very good. So there's your sine and your cosine. And the last one is the part that we covered. What does the T stand for, Leslie Perez? Tangent. Leslie Adamas, what is the O? Opposite. Thank you. And Ryan, what is the A? Adjacent again. So when we wrote these out, we said that the sine, which is abbreviated as SIN, is defined as what over what? Opposite over hypotenuse. Good. The cosine is defined as what, Gustavo? Good. And Henry, the last one? Tangent is opposite over adjacent. Even though it's only written as a tan, say tangent, and say instead of cos, say cosine, okay? So it's just an abbreviation. Alright? We covered how to write tangent ratios. And we did some examples. And that was your homework for the weekend. Now today we're going to start using the calculator and find out how to find those sides, how to use those ratios. Okay? So in this situation, the first thing you should notice is what angle they give you. They always need to give you one of the acute angles. So you always have to have a right angle first. And then you notice that they've given you the 32. Does that make sense? Okay? When we write this out, it becomes the tangent of my angle. What's my angle? 32 degrees. Remember, whatever goes in the parentheses is always going to be an angle. And whatever goes on the other half of your trig function is always going to be sides. Okay? So because we're using the tangent, and we have SOHCAHTOA, the two sides I care about are the, which two? Julio said the opposite and the adjacent. So what is opposite of 32? What's another way to say opposite in English? How could we say opposite in a different way?
All the way around.
All the way across, maybe? Maybe not all the way around, but all the way across?
The other way.
Oh, the other way? So the 32 is opposite of what? 11. And what is adjacent to it? The x. Okay? If we label our points, or our sides, that might be helpful. This is my opposite. What's this side always going to be? Hypotenuse. Why do you know? It's opposite the right angle. And that leaves the x as the last remaining piece, so it must be adjacent. Okay? Does everyone see how I plugged this into opposite over adjacent? Everybody cool with this so far? Now we need to know how to solve these. And the easiest way to solve these is to make it into a proportion. You guys are very good at solving proportions by cross-multiplying. But if you look, we have a ratio on the left side, the right side, and on the left side we don't. What could I divide tangent by in order to make it a fraction? 1. So I'm going to divide it all by 1. Did I change the value at all?
No.
No, I just rewrote it, okay? It's a different way to write it. And now to solve, I can cross-multiply. So I get, let's do the 11 times 1 first. I get 11 equals, now, you usually write the tangent second. So I'm going to get an x times, keep it all together, tangent of 32 degrees. Be sure to include that degree sign. It'll help you keep things straight. You have to carry the tangent, yep. Okay. This is a function, and it's something in your calculator. We're going to talk about that in a second. All right. I need to solve for x by itself, though. So, as a hypothetical, if I had 2x equals 8, found a dead spot again. 2x equals 8, and I need to divide by what?
Okay.
If I have 2x equals 8, and I want to find x, what do I have to divide by? Divide both sides by 2. Because then they cancel, right? In this situation, if I want to find x by itself, what do I have to divide by? I want to get x by itself, so the other two have to cancel. What do I have to divide by? Tangent of 32. So I'm going to divide by tangent of 32. Because if I divide the same thing by itself, it's going to cancel each other out. But if I do it to the right side, I also have to do it. So this becomes over tangent of 32 degrees. What happens on my right side to those tangents? They cross out. So what do I get left on my right side? Yeah. So I'm going to rearrange and switch it. So I get x equals 11 over tangent of 32 degrees. X equals 11 over tangent of 32 degrees. Now, on your test, that's where we're going. On your test, I want to see this work. I want you to see that work so I can see it in a before you plug it into a calculator. Okay? Now I want to talk about how you can do this on a calculator. Okay? So, finish writing that up, and then open your calculator and turn it on. Finish writing that down. I'm sorry. Anybody else do one? Remember the policy, do not abuse calculator privileges, please. You got one test? Okay. Everybody got this written down? Okay. Get out of here real quick. On your calculator, first thing you do, I would just clear everything out, just so you can start with a blank screen, alright? Clear everything out. This part is incredibly important. If you go over on your calculator, you'll see a button called Mode up at the top. Click Mode. And this will bring up basically all the settings for your calculator. The left, all the things on the left are the default. Yours may look a little bit different, but it should be mostly the same. What we want to do is make sure that degree is highlighted. So if degree is not highlighted, because we share these calculators with other classes, sometimes they may change it to radian. You need to go down, click over on degree, and hit enter, so that then it will select degree, and then move off it to make sure it's highlighted. Is everybody on degree?
Yep.
Okay. Every time you get these calculators, before you do anything, check that it's in degree mode. If it's in radian mode, you will get different answers, and it will be very difficult for you to understand why those answers are different. So you may do a whole problem set without realizing that it was in radians. Okay? So make sure it's in degree. Let's quit out of this. So to get out, hit second, which mine is blue, so then it's all the blue numbers. And then hit mode again, so you see the quit above it. So hit second quit, and it'll go back to your home screen. Everybody on your home screen? Okay. Now what was my problem? It was x equals 11 over tangent 32. So when you get your calculator to type it in, you can literally write it just as it says. 11 divided by tangent. Anybody see tangent? Yeah, it's tan. And then type in 32. There is no degree sign on the calculator, and I want you to get in this habit. Make sure you close your parentheses. See how it opened one up for you? Make sure you close it. Whoops. Close your parentheses, and then hit enter. Whoops, I missed.
Yeah.
17.6?
Yeah.
Everybody get that? In this section and the future sections, your numbers will not come out as integers very often. Frequently there will be decimals that will repeat or go on for a long time, right?
We have to round.
Yes, you should round to either the nearest tenth or the nearest hundredth, so it should have 1 or 2 decimal points. So for this problem, I would accept 17.6. Okay? If you put 17.60, that would be fine as well. So let's go back to the PowerPoint here. Oops, wrong thing. Oh, the one thing I want to show you as well, before we do that, if you're doing your homework, you don't have these calculators. What I recommend, and please write this down in your notes, go to Google, type in scientific calculator, enter. And if you go to watch this on YouTube, you can see all this. Alright, in case you forget. Go to scientific calculator. Your first result, like after the products, is this Web 2.0. If you click on Web 2.0, it brings up like a mini calculator. Right? And you notice on the left side, it's got the sine, the cosine, and the tangent. And on the bottom left, notice how it has degrees, or what's this stand for again?
Radians.
Radians. Radians, not radius. Very close, though. They're related. All right? And so we make sure it's on degree. And what was it? It was 11 divided by tangent of 32. And notice how it puts it in the proper format. I like that, too, right? So you can see if what you're typing in is matching up with what you expect. Hit enter. Gives you an answer. Is that the same thing?
Yep.
Yep. So on your homework, I really recommend you try and do this. Okay. There are other calculators that work, but each calculator has its own little way of operating. Just like if you have a Mac versus a PC, they're similar, but they just have little small differences. Okay. And so I can't really help you depending on which calculator you have. If you bring it in, I'll help you. But at home, obviously, I'm not there to look at it. So. You're on your own, all right? So I really recommend going to web2.0calc.com. Any questions? All right, let's go back to the problem then. So we just finished this one. I want you guys to try and set that one up on your own. Try and set that one up on your own. So just try and set it up. So which angle are we going to look at here? 56? I'm not doing it, I'm just highlighting the angle. Hang on 1 second. If you've already set it up, try and solve it.
Yeah, you did. Try to skip that. Very good. I think that's correct. So what was your first step? The first step should flip the leg. So your first step should be tangent of something equals the opposite of the adjacent. You see that step?
Alright, so let's do this one together. So we're looking at 56. So let's label our sides. What's this bottom side going to be? The what? Hypotenuse? What's x going to be? Opposite. And what would the 13 be? Adjacent. So this is just a preview of our next section. For this section, you guys always know it's going to be tangent. But in our next section, I'm not going to tell you. Take a look at the two values that I need to find, or the values that are given. I have an x and a 13. Notice that those are the opposite and the adjacent. The only choice that has both the opposite and adjacent is the tangent. So that's how we know that we're going to need to use tangent. Okay? So for this lesson, we're doing all tangents, but for the next one, you're going to have to pick which one to use. Okay? So the tangent of, we say the tangent of 56 what? Degrees. Remember, what goes inside the parentheses always? An angle. Okay, the angle always goes inside. Equals, what do these two have to be? They're always what? Sides. So what's over what? X over 13 or opposite over adjacent? How many people got that? How many people got that? Those who did not get that, what was the mistake that you made?
Forgetting.
What was it?
Forgetting.
Okay, so forgetting what to do. Anybody put 13 over x? Okay? And remember, this second letter comes first, so it's always opposite over adjacent. Did you match these up correctly in your triangle? Okay. So let's take that extra step then and label them as opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse, and you'll avoid that mistake. What's my step from here? Once I got it set up, I think you guys should be good once you're set up. Cleo? Yep. Thank you. And then what? Cross multiply. I'll do it in a different color. So let's do the x times 1. What's x times 1? X. Equals. And then we just multiply these two together. So we usually put the tangent in the second position. So we get 13 times tangent of 56 degrees. X equals 13 times the tangent of 56 degrees. Do we need to simplify that anymore? What are we trying to find here? Is x by itself? So are we good? I think we're good at here. Where do we need to go now? What do we need to use at this point? The calculators. So let's go to calculator. Go to the calculator. What was it again? I'm sorry.
13.
13 times what? 13 times tangent of how many degrees? 56. Close it up. Make sure you're getting that habit. Everybody good? Hit enter. What'd you get? Let me show you one other thing. We can also just do 13 tangent 56. Whenever there's no multiply sign in between a number and a tangent like that, or between a number and one of the trig functions like sine, cosine, or tangent, it interprets that as to always multiply. So if I hit enter here, I get the same result. Okay? This is just like 2x. We don't need to write 2 times x. We can just write 2x. Okay? We don't need to write 13 times tangent. We can just write 13 tangent. Okay? So 19.27. So my answer is x equals, what was it? 19.27. And remember, I can write this without the multiply sign if I need to. When you finish these problems, you should always take a look to see if your answer seems reasonable. Because you're doing this in the calculator and it becomes a little bit mysterious, you don't know what that ratio is going to be, make sure that your number looks reasonable. Does 19.27 look like a reasonable answer? Yeah. Things that, if for example, your calculator was accidentally in radians, you might get an answer that was like 0.36 or 0.2 or 1.7. Clearly, that's not going to work in this triangle. Okay, does that make sense? So always make sure that your answer makes sense given the picture. Now, trigonometry is used all the time to measure things. All right, this is a pretty lame example. All right, we're going to do an activity later where we're going to measure, you know how we did the Christmas tree?
Yeah.
We're going to measure tall things but using trigonometry now. All right? Like Olin, yes. All right? So what I want you to do is find the height of the lamppost. Find the height of the lamppost. Can you guys read that in the back? Yeah. This is at 8 inches, 40, and 70 degrees. So I would recommend your first step is to find the angle you're looking at and then list the other sides, whether the other sides are opposite, hypotenuse, or adjacent. And then remember, chief what? SOHCAHTOA. So the tangent is equal to what over what? Tangent is equal to what over what? Good. If you're finished, please check your answer with a neighbor. Yes, would you like to do that on the cardboard? Oh.
Oh, what?
It's winter.
Huh?
It's cold.
Okay.
What'd you forget? Units, you gotta cover them up. No naked numbers.
No, they.
How do we do? Oh, it's much better.
Okay.
How do we do? So tangent, tag.
Oh, my bad.
So tangent is equal to opposite over adjacent. No equal sign here, because it's just when you use the tangent. I'm sorry, I didn't see that. When you use the tangent, it goes immediately next to the angle. So this says, when you write tangent, what you say is tangent of so you might say tangent of 70 degrees here. You don't say tangent equals 70 degrees, okay? Tangent of 70 degrees, okay? And then equals opposite over adjacent. You did that perfectly. And then you multiply them together, plug them in your calculator. 109 looks great. Myra? You would round it. What did you get before the decimal? What was your calculator say? Oh, so Myra says she got 109.899. In that case, you should round up. That becomes actually, you get 109 point, this becomes a 0 because it goes up, so therefore it needs to actually round this one up, so it becomes 0.90. Okay? Yes, you should practice your rounding skills. Okay? Alright, this is a hard one, but I think you guys can do it. I want you to find the area of the triangle. The area of the triangle. So before we start, what is the formula for the area of a triangle? Area equals half the base times the height. If we look at my triangle here, what's my base? What's my base? X? And we don't know what that is, right?
Nope.
What's my height?
16.
16. So, if I find my base, the x value, can I plug it in to find the area?
Yep.
So first we have to find, what do we need to find first? The base, which is x. Once we find x, we can find the area. So it's a two-step problem. So go ahead and get started on that. And then if somebody finishes, you can do it on the board. So you're going to need to find the base first, which is x. Once you find the base, then you can plug it in to find the area. Please make sure that the value you get for x makes sense. Look at your triangle. Should the value you get for x be bigger than or smaller than 16? Smaller. So if you get a number that's bigger, you know you've made a mistake. How would you find that?
So you gotta find x first. Once you have x, then you gotta have whatever you find. What x be over 6 on? Look at your picture. No. Oh. So if you get x over 16, you've made a mistake. Nope, you have to find x. Yeah. Because x, you're not going to find the same thing. You got to find x first. How did you find h here? Can you do the same thing to find x?
So remember, your first step is to find x. Completely ignore the area formula. How do we find x? Okay, let's pretend. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of the area issue. If it said find x, what would you do? If it just said find x, what would you do? Yeah, you use the tangent, just what we've been practicing. So first step, everybody find x. Everybody find x.
Wait, I don't know if that's
For your area? So, yeah. Not 10. Oh, that was a very good drink. So you need to divide both sides by. You want to get x by 20. So if I had 8, 2x would divide both sides. Because the same thing was on the same side as x, right? Or something like that. Tangent is that, so you need to divide both sides by. Oh, I've been
Yes.
well, x for the first one. What are the brackets have to cover? What? So it is but check your work environment. Then you divide Myra, what do you get for x? Now, we need to find the area. How would you find the area? What's the formula for area? What we started with at the beginning? Half of what? Height. So what is x? What is it relative to that formula? Is it the base or the height? Right, if you know the height. So you take them all together. Make sure you put the degree sign on it, please. And the first one, too. Thank you. Careful, we're not dividing by half. What it does is, it goes order about this. Just hold on.
How many people were able to get X? How many people were able to get X? Okay. For those who didn't, what was the issue? Was it setting the problem up, using the calculator? Confused with the area part? Setting it up with opposite over adjacent? Was it solving? Did anybody have any problem solving the proportion? Take a look at Henry's work, please. So first he set it up. Tangent of 55 degrees is equal to opposite over the adjacent. Oh, cripes. Which is 16 over x. And then he cross-multiplied. So he got 16 equals x times tangent of 55. But to get x by itself, he has to divide both sides by tangent of 55 so that they'll cancel on the right side. When he divides both sides, he gets 16 over tangent 55. And then on the other side, both these canceled, so he only had an x left. So we get x is equal to 11.2. Right? Are there any units here? No. Then, to find the area, he went back up to the area formula for a triangle. He noticed that his base was x. Does everybody see that? His base was x right here, and his height was 16. So he plugged those two numbers in, base, height, typed it into his calculator, and got 89.6, which is correct. Are there any units for this? Are there any units for this? No, because they don't give you any. If you wanted to, you would say this is 11.2 units. And area is going to be a unit times a unit. So how many units? Units squared. So this would be 89.6 units squared. Okay? Excuse me? The units? If it's units, I don't care so much. I just wanted to point out that a distance here, x, the distance, was only just one unit. The area, which is how much space it occupies, is units squared. And that's always true. So if you talk about how far I went, it's feet. If you talk about how big the room is, it'd be feet squared, or square feet. Okay. Alright, this one's hard. Find the perimeter of the triangle. Find the perimeter. What does the perimeter mean? All the way around, all sides added up. So we have one side. What is that side?
15.
15. Do we have any other sides?
No.
No. Let's set it up. What are we going to use? It's in the same section with what? What have we been using every time? Tangent. So let's label our sides. What's the bottom going to be? What's this one going to be? Opposite. And what is this unknown side on the left going to be? Adjacent. The tangent compares which two properties? Which two? The opposite and the adjacent. So let's put in an x for the adjacent here. Right? And could you guys solve for the x now using the tangent ratio? Okay, so do that first. Find the x. And this will be our last problem. We may not finish it. You guys want to work with a partner for this one? Alright, if you want to work with a partner, go ahead and do so.
What? Now you don't know how to get the other side.
Oh.
You know how to do it? What are you going to do?
Anybody having trouble setting these up still?
Let's do, so, what's our angle? Which one's opposite to it? Cross. When I think back earlier, did you I'm going to pick this one up.
So Luis did this. Tangent of 68 is equal to the opposite of the adjacent, so 15 over x. Then he cross multiplied. Take a seat, please. Cross multiplied. You got 15 is equal to x times tangent of 68, but you wanted the x by itself, so we divided both sides by tangent of 68. Does, excuse me, 6 point, yes, I said you could either do it with 1 decimal or 2 decimals, so that's fine. Either one's fine. It's more accurate if you do 2. Okay. Now, so this is 6.06. Does that look like an acceptable answer given the other side?
Yeah.
Is it smaller than 15? Okay. Now, to find the perimeter, we need to find how many of the sides? All 3, right? Because we need to walk around the triangle. We have this side. We have this side. How could I find my last side? Add? We can't add the 2. We can't multiply. Something we learned in this chapter. What is it? 180 is only for angles. What could we do here to find the hypotenuse? Moshi? Moshi said the Pythagorean theorem. Yeah. So this is a squared plus equals c squared. Which one's c always? So this is c, this is a, and this is b. Do we know a? Do we know b?
Yes.
Can you find c?
Yes.
Go ahead and do it. So both these problems were harder, not because they, it wasn't more difficult, it just took longer. There are 2 steps, okay? You guys knew how to do both the steps. The problem is you just need to do them in that order, okay? So first here we need to define the adjacent side, the x. And then what are we using again right now? What's that called? Pythagorean theorem, which will also be on your test, so make sure you remember it. Pythagorean theorem only works for what type of triangle, by the way?
Right.
Right, good. Anybody want to finish this on the board? Myra? Go ahead quickly. Now that doesn't look right though. Because 7.85 hypotenuse is supposed to be your longest, right? Is that your longest side? Is 7? So where am I mistakes here? You plug in A, right? What is A? Okay, what's B? Okay, what was A squared? Check this one. Remember, if you check your answer, which side has to be the longest always? The hypotenuse, or C. So if you got an answer like 8 or an answer like 12, is that going to work?
No.
No, because it has to be the longest. So Myra's doing it on the board. This is going to be our last problem for today. Once you have C, what do you need to do to find the perimeter? Add them all up. So if you got C already, add them all up. Sorry, it's getting a little messy on the board. Much better. Does that look better? Is it longest?
Yeah.
So Myra said that C is equal to 16.15, 17, and that can be because of rounding error, so that's fine. Right? It depends on, did you plug in a 6.1 instead of 6.06? Depends on what you plugged in for your X value. Those are very, very close, right? What did you get again? 16.17 versus 16.15. They're only 200ths different. Yeah. Okay. And then if you want to add them all up, the perimeter is equal to A plus B plus C. Anybody done that yet? A plus B plus C. And C is 16.15. So can somebody do that? Quickly. 37.21 is your final perimeter. All right? We did 3 different things in that problem. We did the tangent, which is what we learned today. Then we did the Pythagorean theorem, which is what we learned at the beginning of the chapter. And finally, we used the perimeter, which we did at the very beginning of the year, and you guys, I'm sure, did that in middle school as well, okay? So there are 3 steps, but to be honest, after the first step, I think they got easier. You guys are all very good at this, and definitely good at the perimeter. So it just gets confusing because you need to know how to do it, right? And we're going to work on more of these problems that involve multiple steps, okay? Your homework for the weekend, I don't know why I said that, is you already did 3 and 5, so it's 6, 7, 8, 13, and 16. Lots of practice with these. Where should you go if you don't have a calculator that you can use?
Google.
Google, and then what should you Google?
Or you should go to the website,
Web 2.0, calc.com. I don't remember. .com? Or you can go to Google and just Google scientific calculator. Scientific calculator. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've been great. Leave your calculators on your desk, please. Leave them on your desk, please.
They call me